a flamingo croquet mallet, white roses painted red, and the charming smile of the Cheshire Cat. That's what Lewis Carroll created in his books Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. These outlandish fantasies baffle and charm children and adults, and they are quoted almost as often as the Bible in the UK. Let's jump down the rabbit hole and see Alice's magical world with our own eyes. If you like our literature breakdowns, subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Lewis Carroll's real name is Charles Lutwidge Dodgson. He was an Oxford lecturer, a mathematician, and a minister of the Church of England. Carroll is believed to have anticipated the development of math, although his works on algebra and geometry were not recognized by his contemporaries. Charles Dodgson had 10 siblings. He was the third child, so he had to think of different ways to keep younger brothers and sisters busy and entertained. This, however, wasn't so hard for him. The future writer enjoyed spending time with children. Charles talked to them, made up stories on the go, and created puppets from whatever he had at hand. His imagination was restless, yet backed with logic. Logic was one of the subject fields Carroll was interested in. Later, this background would show up in the stories about Alice. Alice from the book is believed to have been inspired by Alice Little, the daughter of the Dean of Christ Church, where Lewis Carroll was a tutor in mathematics. Perhaps she impressed the writer so much that he dedicated 2 books to her. Carroll was a friend of the Littles and befriended the Dean's daughters. According to one of the popular legends, he even proposed to Alice when she was older. His friendly feelings were mutual. The girl and her sisters visited him a lot to listen to his stories. In 1862, Carroll first told the children a make-believe story about a girl's journey underground. The 3 Littles were mesmerized by the story, so they asked him to write it down. Later, as more people laid their hands on this text, one of the readers convinced Carroll to publish it. That's how Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, originally entitled Alice's Adventures Underground, came into being in 1865. Alice Little lived for 82 years, and Carroll's manuscript with his meticulously crafted drawings made her financially secure and famous. After the death of her husband, Reginald Hargreaves, she sold the manuscript at Sotheby's for a princely sum. The manuscript was changing hands until it ended up in the British Library. Now you can check it out in the library's website. Absurd is believed to be the recurrent vein in Alice of Wonderland. Time and space are unstable. Forms and body shapes are distorted. All of this makes the story similar to Franz Kafka's novels. However, everything that happens to the main character is explained by the counterintuitive logic of a dream that Alice sees. That's why the world she finds herself in is so shaky and fluid. And this explains why everything that happens there doesn't seem absurd to the inhabitants of this world. If you often find yourself down the rabbit hole browsing the web to explore your area of interest, drop by the Art for Introvert website and choose a course to your liking. Now, all our courses are available with a subscription for just $6.99 a month. The link is in the description. A few years prior to writing Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll contemplated the idea of dreams we see at night becoming real. What if madness is nothing but an inability to distinguish between waking and dreaming? This makes the book more surreal than absurd. The events follow the laws of logic that is strange and justified mainly by the rules of a particular time and space. Alice in Wonderland seems to be filled with paradoxes, yet its oddness has an elementary inner structure. We can see it in the conversation Alice has with the Cheshire Cat. She asks which way she ought to take to leave Wonderland, and the cat answers that if she doesn't care where she wants to go, it doesn't matter which way to go. In addition to the main character, there are a lot of characters and facts in the books that had real-life prototypes. After all, the book was meant for a limited readership, so the story is based on the events and people that were important to the author. Once upon a time there were 3 little sisters, the Dormouse began in a great hurry, and their names were Elsie, Lacey, and Tilly. Lacey is an anagram for Alice. Elsie sounds like L and C, the 2 capital letters for Lorena Charlotte, and Alice's elder sister, Tilly, was the family nickname for the youngest daughter, Edith Little. And the dodo is a representation of the author himself. Lewis Carroll supposedly stammered and couldn't pronounce his real name, Dodgson, at first attempt, so he stammered out Dodgson. The beautiful garden Alice sees through the gate is the garden at the church in Oxford. Children weren't allowed to play there, while adults could easily access it through Little's garden. This gate still exists. The endless mad tea party is believed to be a reference to Carol's hospitality. The Little sisters visited him a lot, and he was always ready to have a cup of tea with them. So far, everything looks quite logical. Where did the madness come from? The books challenge and play with readers' minds through animated figures of speech. Non-native English speakers are less lucky here. They need a proper explanation to get the meaning of English proverbs, sayings, and collocations. However, there was nothing like this in the original manuscript. The author added a bunch of references for publication. Carol's wordplay defines the plot and creates character. For example, the Hatter, the most striking character in the story, is a reference to two real people, the Oxford inventor and furniture dealer Theophilus Carter, or the 17th century Hatter, Roger Crabbe. At the same time, the Mad Hatter is the embodiment of the proverb, mad as a hatter. But why is the Hatter mad? The thing is, in the 18th and 19th centuries, mercury, which is a toxic substance, was used in the production of felt, a popular hat fabric. So, many hatters were exposed to a poison work environment which caused physical and mental ailments. The March hare has a similar proverbial origin. In England, people say that someone is as mad as a March hare when a person acts irrationally and silly, which is compared to the seasonal behavior of an animal during a breeding period. The Cheshire Cat appeared from an expression, grin like a Cheshire Cat, yet the meaning of this phrase is vague. At the same time, the author was inspired by folk songs and legends. For example, Humpty Dumpty, the Knave of Diamonds, the Lion, and the Unicorn came from songs. And such a weird creature as the mock turtle is a tribute to the cooking history of England. The mock turtle soup was extremely popular in the Victorian era, and it was supposed to be a real green turtle soup, though made of veal. This is why Alice meets the turtle with a calf's head. There are also characters modeled after real historical figures. For example, the Queen of Hearts is a combination of Queen Victoria, who is deeply in love with her husband Albert, and Queen Margaret from the House of Lancaster. On the one hand, the only person who can control the Queen of Hearts is her husband, which is the unmistakable allusion to Albert. On the other hand, the Queen's gardeners paint white roses red, the color of the Lancasters. Another signature technique of Lewis Carroll is inversion, when logic or language is reversed. Remember the episode where the Queen gives her verdict before the witnesses come to testify? The book is widely believed as a harbinger of later scientific discoveries. There's a scene where Alice changes her size. This is regarded as the expansion of the universe. And the episode where Alice says she's afraid of shrinking and disappearing is a herald of Edmund Whittaker's research. He claimed that the overall amount of matter was constantly decreasing, so one day the universe could turn into nothing. Some scientists also spot references to the general theory of relativity in the book. Alice was falling down the rabbit hole with uniformly increasing acceleration. Albert Einstein proved the accuracy of this assumption in the early 20th century. And the famous phrase of the Red Queen, "It takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place," is a precursor to an evolutionary hypothesis introduced by Lee Van Valen in the 1970s, which states that organisms must constantly increase their fitness or ability to survive and reproduce in order to compete with other ever-evolving organisms in an ever-changing environment. The number of fictional characters who followed the White Rabbit is impressive. Neo from The Matrix and Alice from Resident Evil did it. Anthony Burgess, inspired by Carroll's stories, wrote his own tale, A Long Trip to Tea Time. Alice's adventures have been keeping their powerful grip on our imagination for 156 years, and they'll continue to inspire and encourage for years and centuries to come. Art for Introvert is a platform that offers a wide choice of topics and areas of interest. If you like today's video, you'll fall for our courses and lectures. Visit our website and begin your journey through the captivating worlds of human experience. Get our subscription and learn as much as you like for $6.99 a month. The link is in the description.